On this map, you will see gun dealers across East Tennessee flagged by the federal government for selling guns later used in crimes. In our early reporting on this ATF map, we learned those gun sellers may be seen as easy targets for criminals known as straw buyers. A straw buyer is someone who buys a gun for another person forbidden from owning a gun. Maybe it's a girlfriend buying a gun for a boyfriend who is a convicted felon, or an older brother buying a handgun for his underage sibling. Both cases are serious crimes. Straw buyers risk years in prison. But tonight, we look into two questions. Are prosecutors going after straw buyers? And how big a role do straw buyers play in putting deadly weapons on the street and in the hands of people forbidden from having a gun?
This one is a smaller version.
Chock full of weapons used in crimes, this Knox County evidence room houses notorious guns.
Agents say Thompson picked this Glock 45 and Foster bought it for him in exchange for money and marijuana.
This pistol played a key role in a deadly confrontation between a 17-year-old and Knoxville police. An officer shot and killed Anthony Thompson Jr. during a struggle inside a Knoxville high school bathroom in 2021.
And that weapon was at the center of everything that happened in that case. Had he not had a weapon that day, we would have a much different situation.
Anthony Thompson Jr. was too young to carry a handgun, but the top prosecutor in Knox County determined blame fell in part on an older friend. 21-year-old Kelvin Foster bought the 9mm for the teenager in 2021. The straw buyer in this case was sentenced to almost 10 months in prison.
So we are coming after you.
General Allen says that's just one high-profile example of how seriously her office and the state take the crime of straw buyers. We asked federal prosecutors with the Eastern District for examples, and they listed more than a half dozen recent cases, including this one from 1 year ago, where a woman in her mid-50s was sentenced to 21 months in prison for lying on that federal form and buying a gun for a felon. In a statement, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District says lawyers in that office vigorously prosecute straw purchasers.
This is a Form 4473.
On this federal background form, all buyers must swear under penalty of law they aren't purchasing the gun for anyone else.
Yep, we'll take it.
Great. Let me get the paperwork going for you.
It's such a concern. For at least a decade now, a national campaign warns gun shoppers, don't lie for the other guy. You risk a $250,000 fine and 15 years in prison.
I can tell you that as a criminal defense lawyer, I've handled a number of straw buyer cases. I'm currently in at least 2 right now that are being prosecuted federally.
WBIR legal analyst Don Bosch calls straw buyers a concern, but the crime falls at number 3 on his list of the most common ways someone forbidden from having a gun gets one.
Most of the guns on the street that are being used for nefarious purposes are either just an individual getting it from a friend, an acquaintance, whatever, borrowing it, or stealing it.
Anytime a person with an immature mind has a gun, it's a problem.
Rashad Woods is a reformed felon who spent a decade in prison on weapon and drug charges, armed in his younger days with a gun he bought on the streets.
But the straw buyers aren't as big as a problem as the stolen guns.
Now, a leader in the Knoxville chapter of the national gang intervention group Renounce Denounce, he devotes his days to steering young people away from guns, period.
So we just have to plant the seeds to kind of try to help them make responsible decisions.
In Knox County alone, the top prosecutor says her office charged 245 adults last year for having a gun who shouldn't have one, on average 5 every week. General Allen says juvenile court faces similar challenges.